Eating a healthful diet requires a lot of time, and it also tends to be quite expensive, so that they give up before they even try, worried at the idea of regular trips to the farmer's market to select fresh, organic, local and seasonal food only, and then spending long hours in the kitchen to prepare everything from scratch and then clean up while skipping any processed food. Let me reassure you, designing a balanced, healthful diet is much easier than that and does not require you to become an elitist foodie. We all live busy lives, have limited time to spend in the kitchen, need to eat meals at work, to sometimes rely on convenience food, the Chinese restaurant down the street, or the Indian takeout. That's perfectly okay. Nobody is asking you to grow your own organic zucchini or to soak dry beans overnight or to never again set foot into a fast food restaurant chain. It is not necessary to change all of our eating habits from one day to the other. Maybe our diet will not be perfect at once, but we have to start somewhere. We may want to start by introducing a couple of little changes, and that already will be a significant improvement. Doing something is better than doing nothing. I'm also here to tell you that eating a healthful diet does not imply any deprivation. We all agree that eating must be first of all a pleasure and not a punishment. It cannot be a source of distress or require exaggerated sacrifice. Imagine how frustrating it would be to balance risks and benefits before each and every bite. There are many good principles in nutrition, but there are also many popular diet books and gurus that take some of these principles isolated from the rest and carry them to an extreme, proposing dietary patterns that will make miserable the lives of those who follow them, and those who don't will be left feeling guilty that they are not doing enough. Luckily, we can eat a healthful diet without making our lives miserable, without enduring tremendous deprivation, and without carrying good principles to an extreme. Let's never forget that eating is not just a matter of survival. We also have every right to enjoy good food, discover new tastes, meet new cultures, have opportunities for social interaction, and in short, enjoy all of those instances traditionally associated with eating. A healthy diet is based on three key principles: variety, moderation, and balance. The first principle is variety. No single food contains all the nutrients we need in just the right proportions, or is so complete that it can be the basis of our whole diet. Any food can contain substances that are useful or protective, but at the same time it can also contain other substances that may be detrimental or toxic. Although we know a lot about food composition, the food we eat is so extraordinarily complex that it is made of thousands of different molecules, many of which we still haven't even identified. Some of them occur naturally, some others come from the environment or from contaminations. The more monotonous our diet is, the higher the risk of nutrient deficiencies or imbalances, and the higher the risk of accumulating dangerous or detrimental substances. Our best strategy to avoid deficiencies and excesses is varying our food choices as much as we can, eating food from all the different food groups, and don't always get the same nutrients from the same foods. Don't trust those who propose you an ideal diet in the form of lists of foods to be eaten every day or every week, because eating the same foods over and over again is not only boring, but also dangerous. Being curious and creative with our food choices is the basis of variety and a healthy diet. The second principle is moderation. Eating everything does not mean overeating. We should never eat until we are uncomfortably full, and eating small portions of many different foods is our best strategy. No food or nutrient is wondrous by itself, outside of a generally balanced diet. And on the other hand, not even the junkiest food can cause any damage if eaten every once in a while in the context of an otherwise balanced diet. Like we always say in nutrition, there's no such thing as good or bad foods. There's only good or bad diets. However, it is appropriate to make a distinction between foods whose intake needs to be extremely limited and foods that should be at the basis of our diet. We will not classify foods as magic foods or killer foods, but we will definitely make a distinction between green lights, yellow lights, and red lights, so we can look for the green lights most of the time, go through yellow lights with circumspection, and jump red lights as little as possible. When it comes to eating, We tend to worry a lot about breaking the rules, but we forget that what really matters is what we do habitually. As the ancient Romans said, semel in anno, licet insanire. Every once in a while, it's okay to go crazy. There is no reason to worry if we pig out on Thanksgiving, if we have one drink too many at our best friend's bachelor party, or if we eat 3 slices of cake at his wedding. What really makes a difference is what we do the rest of the time. Most people eat 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That gives us 21 meals a week. If we have dinner out with friends twice a week, it's not those 2 meals that we have to worry about, but the remaining 19. The third principle is balance. Our choice of foods should ensure a healthy proportion of all the different nutrients that we need, and we will learn how to do this. Many people believe that applying nutrition science means dealing with food composition tables and making long calculations of calories and nutrients to come up with the perfect list of foods to eat, in just the right amount to have a perfectly balanced diet. Far from it. Let me tell you right now that nobody will ever ask you to eat with the scales or the calculator, to weigh everything you eat, or to compute calories or nutrients. Studying human nutrition means becoming familiar with a series of general principles, strategic objectives, and guidelines that will help us make the best dietary choices in selecting our foods and creating our meals. Sure enough, we will use some numbers and make some energy and nutrient calculations in this course, but it's only to become familiar with the composition of the foods we eat and with some basic nutrition concepts. We want to have an idea of the caloric density of food. What is their protein content? What kind of fats they contain? What are the best sources of a particular vitamin? Or which food have a high glycemic index? But when it comes to our everyday life, in order to eat well, it's completely unnecessary to make calculation of calorie or nutrients. It is much more important to understand and keep in mind some key general principles. By applying the principles of variety, moderation, and balance, we will be able to steer clear of dangerous radicalisms. We will not condemn or fear any food or nutrient, much like we will not trust those who idolize one particular food or nutrient, or those who place all of their bets on one single idea. For example, as a nutritionist, I am very well aware that eating an excess of animal food is very detrimental to our health, especially if we don't balance it with enough fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. For this reason, I consume red meat very sparingly. Some people decide not to eat meat and fish at all and become vegetarian. Some others decide not to eat animal food altogether and become vegan. Some go even further and limit their food choices to only fruit. They become fruitarian. Some only limit their food choices to raw food. They become raw foodists. I think this is a very dangerous path. Where is the limit between healthful diet and dietary extremism? There are paleo fanatics who abominate grains and legumes, much like some dogmatic vegans fear meat and fish. I have respect for all of these choices, and I will tell you right now that our body is so extraordinary that it can perfectly thrive both on an animal-free vegan diet or on a grain-free paleo diet. However, there's absolutely no need to go to any such extremes to maintain health. We may have cultural, religious, ethical, or environmental sustainability reasons to decide to abstain from eating specific foods, and those reasons are all valid. But if the concern is our health, then, as we will learn in this course, we can design a perfectly balanced, healthful diet that promotes health, well-being, and prevention of chronic disease by including foods from each and every one of the following 5 groups: fruits, vegetables, seaweeds, and mushrooms, nuts and seeds, whole grains, legumes, and animal foods, including meat, seafood, eggs, milk, and dairy. With these principles in mind, our next question now is, why do we need to study nutrition? What can it do for us? What are the goals of nutrition? Over the next 3 lessons, I would like to explain this to you.